Welcome back to episode 4 of Ekhoing Vitality podcast with me, Josh, and my beautiful wife, Taylor. Today, we're talking women's health, and we're going to put an emphasis on the menstrual cycle. You'll get to hear a little bit about, well, probably a lot of bit about Taylor's story, how she has gone from fainting from her periods to not fainting from her periods.
I would say more so thriving and not being in excruciating pain every single month. So I think that's a pretty big deal, actually.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's been a long journey, but it's been wild to see how that has changed and improved over the years.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you all about my own personal journey and just a few things, what I've done throughout the years and why I'm so passionate about helping other women discover like their issues that they have and kind of uncover like what is it that's causing them pain in their day-to-day life? Like what is that? And I've had to do that in my own life, just trial and error. And I want to make this process for women so much easier, so much more smooth. I didn't necessarily hire any coaches or I did try to go to my doctors, but they just threw, here's birth control. You try all the different types of birth control. And I denied that every time because that's not what I was looking for. And so I just want to help women find harmony and create balance in their life. And one way we do that as women, we have a fifth vital sign, and that's our menstrual cycle. And when we are so out of tune with our bodies, things go wrong. Pain comes up. The pain doctor, I think Josh could probably talk about.
The pain teacher.
Oh, yeah, the pain teacher.
Yeah,
that's right. The pain teacher. And how the pain teacher communicates with us. And if we decide to listen or not, that's kind of up to us. And for years, I'll go into my story a little bit. And throughout this story, I want to ask Josh what it was like for him because he was a young man when we met.
I was just a little young buck.
Yeah. I'm 16, he's 18, and we essentially grow up together. And throughout us growing as a couple, and living together, he gets to see and experience what it's like living with a young woman who has excruciating menstrual cycles every single month. And yeah, so I'll just kind of start.
How about I'll ask you
Okay.
Maybe a question or suggest we start from, like you said, maybe the beginning.
Okay.
Just how was it when you started your period? Maybe you can talk about like what age you started and maybe what it was like when you first started and then what it was like those first few years until we met.
Okay. So when I very first started my period, I was maybe 11 years old, 10 even. I was in elementary school, so maybe 4th or 5th grade. It was very early on.
That's not normal, is it?
That's not normal.
Oh, okay.
And I guess we can talk about what's normal. So and they keep changing it over the years to kind of fit the what's normal now. But starting your period as a child isn't normal. So that middle school, the end of middle school, early high school ranges. So what age is that? That's like 12, 13 to maybe 14, 15, 16 even. So like that range. 10, I think even children young girls before the age of 10 are starting their cycles now, and that's just not great.
Wow.
So I started around 10, maybe 11, definitely in that elementary school time frame. I remember being in distinctively in my mind, I remember being in elementary school, learning how to deal and navigate with that. Thankfully, the school did have some education on the menstrual cycle, and they separate the boys from the girls, and we got to learn all about it. And honestly, I don't really remember much. I remember the boys kind of teasing us, like, what's in your bag? We had like lotion and pads, and I think that was really the biggest thing, was lotion, pads, and maybe like a little pamphlet of information. But I don't remember too much about what exactly was said, other than, hey, we're starting our, you're young ladies, you're going to start your cycle soon. So I'm glad I had a little bit of introduction. My mom always did a really great job, for the most part, at making sure we had, sanitary napkins, or whatever you want to call them, period pads.
What? A sanitary napkin?
That's what they call them.
What is that?
Like a pad.
Like a wet wipe?
No, a pad. That's literally
just a pad.
what they call them.
A sanitary napkin. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, they can come up with some interesting names. So anyways, pads. I'll just stick with pads. That's what I call them typically.
I don't know. I kind of like sanitary napkins.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess you guys get to decide whatever you want to call them.
I'm kidding. I think that's a ridiculous name.
Yeah. So anyways, my mom did a really great job at like making sure my sister and we had our items, but I was so embarrassed to even talk to my mom about starting my cycle. And I think that that's a very common thing, is it's just an awkward conversation to have for whatever reason. And I have really, in my adulthood, have tried to just ignore that fact and just talk about it anyways. I have younger siblings and cousins who are girls, and I'll just straight up ask them, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I'm like, do you need pads? Do we need to go to the store and get pads or tampons? And they're, kind of awkward about it, but that's okay. I'm doing the best I can to make sure the young women in my life know that it's okay to talk about. But anyways, yeah, I remember starting and just being super embarrassed. And I don't think I told my mom for months, or, when you first begin your cycle, it's everywhere. It doesn't just go from like you not having your cycle to all of a sudden you're having a monthly cycle. So your very first cycle can be very, very light. Maybe it's just a couple days, and then maybe it doesn't come back for a couple months, and then you have a cycle again. And so it's really unpredictable in the very early stages of getting your cycle. And so I don't remember that much. But anyways, so as a teenager though, this is what I do remember, is my mom used to tell me how much of a miracle my sister and I were growing up. And there was always this concept of like, you guys were miracle babies, like I wasn't supposed to have you. I had endometriosis and adenomyosis, and those are just really common female anatomy diseases that happen. And so my mom was like, I had to have a hysterectomy because it was so bad. And like endometriosis is just one of those diseases where you have a lot of extra tissue, endometrial lining in like growing within your uterus or even outside of your uterus. So it's a very inflammatory response every time you have your cycle, and it can affect all the parts inside your body, your intestines, your kidneys, like it can grow everywhere. So it's a very painful issue. So anyways, my mom had that. And she would say like, you and your sister probably have that if I had like cramps or something. And so from an early age, I remember being told this and thinking, oh great, I've got to have endometriosis. And it would just be, painful. And I reflect back now and I'm like, I wonder how painful that actually was. like I don't remember if there was a pain scale. I don't remember how painful it actually was for me. But as I got older, it felt like it just got worse and worse and worse. So this is really crazy. And you probably remember this. We were together, fairly early. I'm 16. And throughout the years, I had to get a couple wisdom teeth taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And what do they prescribe you?
Hydrocodone.
Yeah. So I don't drink, don't smoke. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. Drugs, absolutely not. However, do you remember this? Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
No, okay. So
Tell us.
I will tell you. It's almost embarrassing, really, like how much pain I was in every single month. So I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and they prescribe you hydros, right?
Yeah, hydros for short.
And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I wonder if this will help my pain. So the moment I would start to feel a little bit of cramping happening, I knew that I was going to have what I call an episode. And an episode is extreme pain, fainting, diarrhea, having contractions, things like that, and just feeling overall weak. I would lose the color of my skin. I would go pale, and I would be unconscious most of the time. And that was really scary to me. That was my normal for most of my my teenage and my adulthood.
Is that similar to like going in shock?
I don't know.
I don't know either, actually.
I'm not
We'll
sure.
circle back on that one. I was just thinking that.
So those were all the symptoms that I would have on my day one of my period. And that's not normal, everyone, just so you know. Man or woman, that's not normal. If you have a lady in your life, guys, like, if they're in that much pain, like, that's not normal at all. Ladies, if you're in that much pain where you're, like, just experiencing all of that, not normal. So anyways,
Hold on. Here's what going into shock is looking like.
Okay.
This is based on Google's AI overview of symptoms of going into shock. Skin, pale, cold, gray, or bluish tinge to the lips and fingernails. Breathing rapidly, shallow breathing or difficulty breathing. Pulse is rapid or weak. Mental state, anxiety, confusion, disorientation, or altered mental state. Nausea or vomiting. And other symptoms like thirsty, dry mouth, dizziness, lightheaded, weakness, fatigue, restlessness, aggressive behavior. She wasn't aggressive. But all the other ones sound pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
And he has been an observer of these episodes for years now.
Yeah, I've been watching these episodes. I've been a long-time watcher of these.
Yeah, long-time subscriber.
Long-time subscriber.
Yeah. So anyways, to swing back around to the hydros, I would save those. Those were like gold to me.
Oh yeah, I remember you keeping those.
Yeah, but what I would do is I would cut them in half and literally just try to savor them for however long I could. I think they used to give me like 5 hydros, and I would cut them in half, and so that would last me almost a year. Like, how crazy is that? Like, that's literally what I would do, and it would just take the edge off on that day one. The moment I would feel cramping on my day one, I would take that hydro, and it would take the edge off. It would never completely get rid of the episode. I would still go through all of those feeling those symptoms, but it would take the edge off.
Just kind of turn off the pain.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. And I would go to the doctors and ask them, like, what is this? Can I get hormone tested? Like, and this was, years of me like asking, and I never got anywhere. They said, nope, you're too young. Your hormone or your vitals, everything, blood work all comes out normal, you're fine. And I'm just like rolling my eyes like, okay, well, something's obviously not fine. And I did get on birth control for 2 years, maybe less than 2 years, but it just didn't work for me. I felt like a crazy person. I felt angry. I felt very anxious, and I'm not a super anxious person in general. And so I was like, nope, birth control, I do not want that. And another thing that my mom always told me was she had gotten on the depot shot and she had gained a bunch of weight and had never been able to get it off. And that terrified me. I was like, I am not going to be, like, these birth control things are, like, scary. Like, what the heck are we doing? These are just being prescribed like crazy.
What's a depot shot?
It's a shot. It's a birth control shot.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Does depot stand for something?
You know, I don't know the long name for it, but that's the short name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know that it's depot.
Well, I'm going to look that up too.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, so I know a lot of women out there would probably know what that is or maybe even have experience with it. But when I was on birth control, it was the pill. So that's my personal experience with birth control, is just the pill. But yeah.
The Depo-Provera shot is the full name. It's an injection you get once every 3 months. This website claims it's a safe and convenient birth control method that works well if you get it on time. I'm sure it prevents many things.
Yeah. So like I said, my mom was on it and she was just like, nope, that was horrible. Even to this day, she still talks about like how bad that was for her. And I was just like, nope, I'm not doing anything like that. And so that's just a little bit of background of why I began my personal health journey, because I felt like I had no resources. I didn't feel like I had a community to help me with this. And I don't think people really understood like how much pain I actually was in. Like, there has been a handful of times that the people around me did not know like what to do. And there had been a couple times in college, like my advisor literally had to call the ambulance because she didn't know what to do. I was in so much pain. I was with his mom one time, and we were at the Davenport Hotel in Spokane, and she was like, oh my gosh, I fainted and fully and could not come back to consciousness. And she also called the ambulance and was like, what the heck? But by the time I get, the help, they're like, hey, your vitals are all back to normal and everything. But it was, for me, it was such a short, intense moment. How long do you think it was? Because I'm out of it. Like, I don't know how long these take.
Duration probably lasted anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that sound?
Something like that.
I think it was varied, you know. And, going back to when we were at North Idaho College, I do remember you were taking some sort of class, biology class or something. And I believe we were living in the trailer.
Maybe.
Potentially. Anyways, I think you called me because I dropped you off, I believe, or CityLink or something. Anyways, you were basically in this episode, and you were like, oh, I need to go to the hospital or something. And luckily, you were in the building. I forget what the building's called, but it had a bunch of, like, nurses in training and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Bunch of people in scrubs, anyways, what I remember. Anyways, I remember walking in and you were like laying on this bench in the hallway and just like in
I
pain.
forgot about this time.
And you were like kind of like moaning in pain. You weren't like able to walk. You were kind of just like, I was like, yo, should I call the freaking ambulance? I was like walking around like, yo, is there somebody up in this building who knows what the hell is happening right now who can help you? I remember this older lady had some scrubs on. She must have been a student. And I was like, excuse me, but I need your help. I don't know how trained you are, but you're more trained than I am. So, and you're a woman, so maybe you understand what the hell is happening here. And
we can laugh
anyways,
at this now. Okay, in the moment, it's not very funny.
no, I was just like, yo, I was so confused, bro. I was like, what do I do right now? Now I know kind of what to do. I mean,
we had a system. Like we
had a system, yeah.
Yeah, to get me through these darn episodes.
Yeah, we can talk about that later too.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a funny story about the episodes and the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, okay. I'm curious about.
Okay, true. I'll just tell it right now.
Okay.
Oh, anyways, so
Yeah.
not to skip around, but I think I ended up taking you to the ER from North Idaho College, and yeah, I don't think they did anything. There weren't any doctors that would do anything that knew what to do, besides, like Taylor was saying, give birth control or painkillers, and that's it.
No, never painkillers.
Oh, no painkillers.
No, that's why I savored the
hydros,
wisdom tooth. Yeah, there was just no help, and I'm like thankful for that too, because what if I never changed my lifestyle? What if I became dependent on those hydros literally every single month?
Yeah.
Like I'm so thankful that no one would prescribe me, pain medication.
Yeah, that's
for
true,
that reason. I had to figure it out in a different way, and that was through my lifestyle, my eating habits, my stress levels, and so I'm super thankful for that piece.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about what your funny story is, because I don't know. We didn't plan this.
You might know the story once I tell it.
Okay.
So in these episodes that Taylor would have, she would faint and lose color. And I'm talking like lips too, just pale as a ghost, looking like Casper over here. And so I had remembered watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There's a character in there, one of the kids, they would faint in the movie and also get pale. I don't know if they got pale or if it was just fainting. And I just remember in the movie, they would be like, oh, she needs potassium. And they would like give her a banana. And so I just remember I was like, when these episodes would happen, I was like, yo, I think I know what to do. Kind of.
Okay, I kind of know where you're going.
Yeah. So being very curious person, I would look up things that had potassium in them. And come to find out, orange juice was a really excellent source for these episodes. And, I don't know if it's the potassium that helped. I don't know if it was a blood sugar thing. I don't know what helped. Technically, inside the orange juice, like macro and micronutrients, I just remember I would always be like, all right, Taylor's period's coming up. Time to go buy some orange juice.
You know what's funny about this, though? I'm pretty sure in our early days, and I'm in this state of, I'm in so much pain. I have my eyes closed. I'm, most of the time I wouldn't fully faint because I, trained myself how to, avoid a full faint. But I would be in, my vision would be really black, and, I could maybe see, the outlines of people. And that's the state that I would be in. Super tired, just weak, and could barely, talk type of, that's just what state that I was in. And I remember, in the early stages, of trying to figure this out, he would literally try to, make me eat a banana. He'd be like, just take a bite.
And I'm like, you need to.
And I'm just like, I can't freaking eat, man. I am in so much pain. And, I remember, barely chewing on a banana. This is not working. But he would, do that, almost every period, you gotta just eat a little bit, and I'm just I can't eat. But juice, oh man, if it was super cold pulp orange juice, oh, that went down so easy. And that would make me come like back alive. Like the color of my skin would come back. I wouldn't be so pale. I would start to feel my vision coming back. I would start to feel less weak, and my head was a little bit more clear when he would give me orange juice. And I'm just so thankful that you watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, otherwise I would not have been prepared for that one moment.
Yeah.
Every month.
So funny.
I have a high suspicion, just looking back on it. I honestly think that it's a blood sugar issue somehow.
Mm-hmm. However,
I'm not positive. That's just what I think.
So as you guys will hear, like, I still to this day have a really hard time having my primary doctors send me referrals, and I'm in a really weird position where my insurance is like, I have to go to this person and this is it. I am pretty restricted.
Yeah, so Taylor understands what it's like to be restricted on options, and that's a big reason why you advocate for all these women, right?
Oh yeah, it's huge.
And have taken health into your own hands, because you almost had to.
I had to. I had zero support in my primary care, and right now I'm hopeful. I switched doctors, and hopefully I can get some answers as to why, because it's not, over the last few years, I have improved my menstrual health significantly. I want to say maybe I have like a small episode 1 or 2 times a year. Like that is absolutely huge for me. It used to be every single cycle. And for me, my cycles are, I have 13 periods a year. So like some months I would have 2 periods. And that's just kind of how my body operated. And so it's been rough trying to figure out what my hormones are specifically. And so I've done a lot of research, and I've read books. I follow women's health doctors, naturopathic doctors who focus specifically on women's health. And with the guidance of these doctors, I took matters into my own hands. And I'm so thankful for Josh. I want to say like a few years ago, he found this one doctor who I absolutely love, Dr. Jolene Brighton. She is absolutely amazing and has so many resources out there that help women heal themselves naturally. And that just resonates with me so much.
Yeah, I found her on a site called One Commune, which is kind of like Masterclass, but only health-related people.
Yeah.
So, like, when I was on there for Wim Hof. That's how I found it. And, I was just browsing other classes and noticed this girl with extremely curly hair had a class on women's hormones or something. And so I was like, wow, might as well check that out, given your situation. And yeah, she's been an excellent resource for you.
Yeah, I bought 2 of her books, and they're really great resources. And I just feel like women really have to advocate for themselves, and it's getting better, like from stories that I hear, and but it's not foolproof. And so I feel like what I had been told throughout the years from my primary care doctors is that's just what it is to be a woman. You just have to go through it. And I heard that this last year, like within this year, I have heard that. And I'm just like, oh man, like you're a woman. Like, did you, I don't know. I just got to the point where I was like, I can't stand talking to my primary care doctor, because that's the words that she would tell me. Like, you're going to just have to deal with it. That's what happens when you age. That's what happens. Like, you're going to have to deal with aging and your energy levels and your periods suck. Like literally, like those are the things that she would tell me. Like, and I would just sit there like, okay, this is not okay, because I know for a fact that through diet, lifestyle, and environmental changes, and even spiritually, like you have a connection within your body that you can ignore or you can explore. And I noticed I had ignored my body for a really long time, or was ashamed, body issues, body image issues. Like it all plays a role in that. And I had to learn to uncover those deep, dark secrets within myself. Like, why do I feel this way? Trapped emotions have play a role in pain in the body. And so I had to really dive deep over the last few years to figure that out. And it's not an easy journey by any means. And when I decided to go to IIN, the School of Integrative Nutrition, I was captivated by like how to coach people through change and lifestyle, diet, like it all matters. And so that's kind of what brought me to teach people is that school right there. And alongside that, Josh going to the Czech Institute. It also has just been a really great resource of education for us to teach on these subjects. Women's health is complex, but it's doable. It's manageable, and it can be so simple. And I feel like that's what we try to break it down for our clients and help them understand that like it's not really, it's a mindset thing. Like it's not really you. Like there's a lot of blame that people can put on the body, like literally just the fact that you're a woman. But that doesn't mean that you're destined to just be in pain or like suffer through like all these symptoms. And menopause is one of those things too. Oh, menopause is gonna suck. You're gonna have night sweats. You're gonna be emotional and irrational. Like people just like accept it, but it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be like an emotional roller coaster. And women can be empowered and balanced, and that's what I want for women. And when I get to that point where like I reach menopause, like I want to make sure that I am aware of the signs, the symptoms, and make sure that other women, I can prepare them for that too. So that's turned into a passion of mine, is helping women. And yeah, I think I'm kind of rambling, but I feel like it's just important to say all of these things.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't make, it's not in any particular, order, but it's just really important to talk about that there's options for literally everything. So.
Yeah. So what are some circumstances that you would, or if you wouldn't, recommend birth control? And some context behind the question is, like you were talking about earlier, doctors seem to think that this is a cure-all for women's health. Not all doctors, of course. I'll preface that. I feel like I always have to preface that. I'm not against doctors.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe give us some information on that.
So are you asking like, when is it appropriate to maybe be on birth control?
Yeah, or how do women, when a woman goes to their doctor for these...
All right. Get out of here, Siri.
Taylor's phone's Siri just went off and interrupted us. My question is, when a woman goes into the doctor's, or a teenager, whoever, and they're talking about, hey, I've got heavy flow, I've got pain, my period is long, whatever the case is, and the doctor's like, well, have you considered birth control before? We can get you on that right away. How does a woman handle that situation?
So, first of all, just knowing that you can decline birth control if that's what you choose. If you go in there into your doctor's office looking for support in maybe balancing your hormones, and you're looking to get to the bottom of it, the root cause of it, if that is your mindset going into your doctor's office, most likely the doctor is not in that headspace. So they are in a, here, this is what I can help right now immediately, and that is birth control. So I feel like birth control will always be recommended, whatever type of birth control, whatever symptoms you're going through. They'll ask about, some lifestyle, like, are you looking to prevent pregnancy? Are you looking to balance your hormones or something? They may not even ask that. Like, it really just comes down to them offering birth control. And most of the time, from the stories I've heard, that it's okay to just decline it, and that's not the option you're looking for. And I feel like, from what I've heard and in my own experiences, the other option is, okay, well, you might just have to exercise and eat better. That's kind of the, well, I don't know what to do for you actually, but here's what I can recommend. And maybe they'll have you talk to a nutritionist, maybe. But I feel like there's really a lack of support in this area. And this could be my own personal experience speaking at this point, where I just still cannot get my primary care doctor to do hormone testing. And the one hormone that they tested was my thyroid, my TSH hormone, or my TSH hormone, and they won't test any others. If that one looks good, unfortunately, they will not test for the others. And it's just really unfortunate that you really have to advocate for yourself, and you might have to look into alternative, care at this point. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, that could be my experience. Maybe if you have a different experience, like, please let us know. But that's my experience in this area.
That answers the question. I think to sum it up in a quicker sentence would be, understand that you have a choice. And if you want a different option, educate yourself and advocate for yourself.
Yes, I would agree. That is exactly what I have had to do and tell my clients as well.
Yeah. So, I know you wanted to talk about how your period back then was similar to pregnancy.
Oh, yes. Okay, so what he means by that is, and I'm not going to talk too much about this because that's not what this episode is about, but just to give you context, and this might be only relatable to those women who have experienced miscarriage. And I just made this distinction this year, and if I had never gone through the 2 miscarriages that we've experienced this year, that's what my periods were like. Every month, it was like going through a miscarriage, and my experience with that was extremely painful. So painful. And when I told my primary care doctor that, she said nothing. And I switched doctors again. I've gone through a lot of doctors this year. And I just thought, wow, like that really put it into a different mind frame for me of like how much pain women can be in. And I never want to minimize the pain that people feel and experience every month. Maybe it's not every month, but maybe it's multiple days out of the month. Like that's a big deal. Like it takes you out. I remember having to call into work all the time. You know, like I would have to call in 1 or 2 days out of that week, and that unfortunately, you know, meant less money, maybe write-ups depending on, you know, the type of management that you're working for. But yeah, it's just not a really great experience overall to be in this position of like pain and agony. You're losing out on money because you can't go to work, and you know, for some women, like it affects your relationships, you know, like your intimate relationships. Sometimes it's so painful that you can't have sex, and like that's not normal either. And you should be able to like enjoy, you know, sex and make sure that your body is, you know, healthy in that way. It takes time and effort and energy, you know, to like heal in that way. And even emotionally, because at that point, like your relationships, you know, get maybe torn a little bit because it can be painful, or maybe you can't be as active as your partner. And I know we've experienced that before, like especially in our early relationship. He was always so active, and I would have, you know, like 4 days of like, hey, I'm in so much pain. And then even like the week leading up to your period, and maybe we'll talk about the cycle, the seasons of the month. But I'll just mention it here. It's called your luteal phase. Your luteal phase it can be hell when your hormones are imbalanced. And so like even that week, like you're tired, you're maybe more depressed, like your energy is just like super sucky, and maybe you're just like super moody. And I remember being in that stage, like PMS, that's what that is, premenstrual syndrome. And then you have your period, and then your energy is low. And typically in a healthy cycle, like you have day 1 of your period, should be crampy, should be, you know, not super bad, but manageable, not necessarily needing any pain medication at all, but lots of rest, nourish yourself. Like you could have a really healthy cycle, but then like day 2, day 3, day 4, and beyond, like you should be gradually gaining energy. Yeah, you should actually be having energy on your period. It's the week before your period where you have the least energy. So it's just reframing like what our cycle is and where you put your energy, and don't beat yourself up if you don't have the energy. Like it's a whole cycle. I forget where I was going with that one, but anyways, that's a part of it. That's a little snippet of like what the cycle is.
Yeah. Do you want to go through? Do you want to go through the different phases at all, or do you want to save that for another podcast?
I'll save it for another podcast.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get into the seasons?
No, I'll save that one for another podcast.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
It's coming up at some point. We just decided right now.
Yeah, we'll talk. Well, I mean, we've known we're going to talk about those sorts of things, but we just really wanted you guys to get to know us and like why I'm passionate about women's health.
Yeah.
And also, like, Josh has been a great partner, great husband, boyfriend, you know, throughout all these years in actually supporting me. He may not have known necessarily about the cycle. Shoot, I didn't even know about the cycle until I started learning about it. But he was there for me. He would make sure that I would have my orange juice, and he would be sticking around, just to make sure that I was good. He did take care of me. But I remember what I was saying is in our relationship, it was like hard at times because you were so energetic. And I could not be. Like, there was just no way that I would have the energy to go summit a mountain like he could with his friends, because I was always just so, my hormones were so unbalanced that the week leading up to my period, exhausted, tired, barely had the energy just to, do daily things. And then period, absolutely the worst ever. And then I would have like 2 good weeks. 2 good weeks out of the month where I was like, okay, I have energy. And then bam, I'd be dipping again.
Yeah, that's a lot of life when you think about it.
It's a lot of life.
Of just resting. Because you kind of have to.
Yeah, forced to. And when you understand the cycle, like we said, we'll talk about it in more detail later, but when you work with the cycle, with the seasons of our cycle, you could be so much more productive, so much more happy and in balance and in less pain. So the goal is to never like fully eliminate pain, because, you have the pain teacher. That pain teacher is there to literally educate you about your body. What's going on? It helps you understand like your intuition as a woman. And
a man.
And a man too, yes.
I was actually just talking to a fella recently about, he had come to me for headaches. He'd been dealing with headaches for a long time, consistently, and he's tried multiple things, and in the consultation, like, dude, I gotta be honest with you, like, I'm not gonna make your headaches go away forever. Like, that's not the goal. Mm-hmm. Because a headache, for example, or any pain, is, like what Taylor is saying, it's a sign that something is going on that you need to address. Mm-hmm. Like, is it hydration? Is it simply that you need to rest? You're doing too much. Mm-hmm. Is it a tight muscle? Is it a postural imbalance? Is it too much screen time? Like, it's a sign that's like, hey, bro, we need to do something here.
Mm-hmm. Pay attention to me.
Pay attention to me.
Mm-hmm. Any pain in the body is just that. It is to educate you, bring you back to your body. And, pain management, medication, like, yes, that is all great and has its place. But when we're constantly, like, just taking it with every headache we get, every knee pain we get, we are shutting that communication off. Like, at that point, there's no communication for you to talk to your body. Listen to your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. Because you put up the pain blockers, and that cuts off the communication. So we really try to avoid taking medication in our personal lives because of that. And so...
Yeah, we try to just think, what's the actual problem here? Mm-hmm. And how do I help the problem? Yeah. Not how do I silence the problem. Mm-hmm. How do I get to the root cause of what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think of, like, going back to menstrual cycles, as your menstrual cycle is like a report card. So it gives you a lot of information. And we can talk about this in another podcast, because otherwise this one's going to be like 5 hours long. But it's a report card. How much pain are you in? Like, is your flow super heavy? Is it like, are you clotting a lot? Are you even bleeding? Some women don't bleed. Like, where is the cycle? Okay, it's missing. That's a problem. So it's a report card. And when you don't even receive a report card, that's a sign. You know, that's something. And if they come too often, that's another sign. You know, you're getting too many report cards. Like,
would you say, in terms of frequency of the menses phase of the cycle, is it more important to have consistency in it? So I'll give you an example. Let's say a woman's cycle is only 25 days versus the so-called average of 28 days. But she gets them every 25 days consistently. That's how it's always been. You know, maybe her flow is quote unquote normal. It's the same every time. Maybe it's not super painful, but a little painful. Would you find that to be something to look into, or would you just be like, that's probably your normal, even though it seems short?
Yes, that would be her normal. If there's not any like erratic periods, like if you're having a period consistently every 25 days, that's okay. It's just on the shorter side. You can even go up to 32 days, and that's still normal. Now, when it becomes a problem is when it's 24 days and less.
Okay.
Because if you're having them too close together, that's an issue. If you're having your cycles 33 days and up, like far apart, that's also an issue. And so there's that sweet spot of between 25 days and 32 days. And that's the sweet spot. So any woman who's consistent in that, in those time frames, and they're pretty regular, like not super painful or anything like that, because you can be regular and still have some hormonal issues going on.
Right.
But I would say you're on the right track when you are very consistent and pretty predictable. But if there's like some things, you know, happening, like for me, like that was my case. I was very regular and predictable mostly, depending on how stressed I was. If I was super stressed, I'd maybe be a few days late, maybe a few days early. It just depended. But yes, that consistency is
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
But if it's not consistent, if you get your period every 3 months, sometimes that's just a symptom of being on birth control. Some birth controls will take your period away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and some women really like that, you know, and cool, if that works for you and you don't have any other major health concerns, that's fine. But I will say, if you are on birth control, it doesn't matter what kind, is just make sure you're getting like a nutrition panel. You want to make sure, like, are your vitamin D levels good, iron levels, like, you want to just make sure that those levels in your body are good, because, and your B vitamins especially, birth control is known to inhibit the absorption of B vitamins specifically. So that,
just all of them?
I believe the pill more so does
No,
that.
I mean all of the B vitamins.
I want to say B12 and B6 are the ones who get more impacted negatively with
gotcha.
that. But there's certain vitamins and minerals where it doesn't really impact that much. But across the board, it's just known that birth control contributes to, I don't know if this is the right word. I'm having a hard time thinking of the word, but malnourished, because it inhibits the absorption of a lot of nutrients. So you might be eating enough, but your body's not absorbing it. So that is a concern for women.
Yeah, malnourishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on birth control. Even if you're eating enough, that's the thing. Like, and so you might think, well, I'm doing all the right things, but sometimes just the fact that being on birth control is it has symptoms, it has
Side effects?
Side effects, yes. So it is something to look at. And you can look, online for the side effects, the most common. You can even look up the ones that are like least common but still happen. It's all online. I'll have to find that and put it in the link for you.
I do have. I don't know the website off the top of my head, but we'll put a link in the show notes to a website where you can type in your prescription name or medication name, and it will give you common nutrient deficiencies that it is related to.
Yeah, you can type in any medication, right?
It probably has some limitations, but basically you can probably type almost anything in there.
Yeah. Good resource to find out and just be aware of what medications are, doing this. And then it might be just really eye-opening for you of I've been taking this for years. No wonder I'm losing my hair or whatever it happens to be. There's always going to be a correlation to a side effect taking medication.
Yeah, pretty cool site.
Yeah.
We use it all the time for our clients and come to us and they're like, yeah, I'm on this medication. Oh, let's look it up. Okay, let's start taking some minerals.
Yeah.
Because according to this website, you're going to be most likely deficient in sodium or whatever it says.
Yeah. So we don't know medications very well just because that's not our background. We didn't go to medical school or pharmaceutical school or anything like that. But there's really great resources out there like this website that will help you understand what you're getting yourself into when you do take medication. Because sometimes some websites, like if you look at the, I want to say the FDA regulations of websites or of medications, it will give you a whole fancy scientific reasonings as to why this happens and this happens with this side effect. And so it can be just a lot. So
yeah, so I wanted to ask to give these people who are our listeners some more information on what would deem a period or the menses phase problematic, and what would cause you to be like, we need to figure out some things for you because that's not normal necessarily.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh,
there's
just
a lot.
Name maybe a few.
Okay, so if you are experiencing super, super heavy, long cycles, like cycles 7 days or longer, and they're heavy and painful, so that would be one. That would be okay, we got to look at, what's going on there. If you don't have a cycle and you're not on birth control, and you're like, I maybe have a cycle every 4 months, and when they do, they last for a month, sometimes 2 months.
Is that a thing that happens?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. It seems so out of whack.
It's also common for women who are on birth control where their cycle is suppressed. They don't have a cycle because of birth control.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then they get off of birth control and they'll be on, or they'll have, it's not a period by any means, but it's a release essentially. And the release can last a month, 2 months, however long. And sometimes that just is so miserable that these women will go back on birth control because they're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that would be another sign that I'd be like, okay, yes, there's definitely some work here. If your period is super, super light,
what would be a super light? What would make it super light?
Where you barely even have to wear a tampon, like a light tampon.
A tampon?
Yep, a tampon. I guess that's just what Josh calls them. Very light, or maybe even just a panty liner is all you need throughout your whole cycle. That would be a very light cycle. And that would be a concern too, because you need that release of blood. You need that. It is very healthy to release blood. And there's many reasons for it. Some people believe that it is a form of cleansing of the uterus. You know, cleansing any impurities that could be building up in the uterus.
Or if you're in the 1800s, you have hysteria.
Or hysteria, yeah. Or classified as a lunatic.
Yeah, which is why it's called the moon cycle.
A moon cycle, yeah, because a lot of the times, you know, like...
I'm just kidding.
The cycle is...
You're not a lunatic when you're... Maybe you are. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. So, the cycle for a lot of women will actually sync up to the moon.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot of like weird history behind
I just
names.
Didn't want people to think I was calling them a lunatic just because they have a moon cycle.
Yeah, they're gonna come and cancel you, babe.
Yeah, I don't want to get canceled on the what is this, the fourth episode?
Yeah, he's canceled. But yeah, so there's all different kinds of signs for a cycle that is not as healthy as it can be. So
yeah,
and what a healthy cycle could look like is like 3 to 4, maybe 5 days of bleeding, and then maybe like a couple days of spotting afterwards. And the bleeding in the beginning, like day 1, can be heavy, so that's your heaviest day typically, and day 1 of your period, and it's got bright red blood, like a good flow. You change your pad maybe a couple times or a few times throughout the day, and then the next day it might be similar. The third day might be just a little bit less, and then by the 4th, 5th day you're using just panty liners, and the pain should be very minimal, and your mood should be fairly stable, but maybe just a little bit more tired. So like that's a pretty easy, healthy period, I'd say, and like that's healthy. That's kind of where we want to be. And I strive to be that, and I hope that's where my clients get to after working with me, and that's the goal. So if you're not having easy cycles on or off birth control, I would definitely reach out, to me. Josh has helped me with my clients too, because sometimes it could be a postural thing where it's just like, okay, maybe there's some issues in the spine that's causing some issues there.
Could be body alignment for sure. And yeah, aside from the body alignment, I also know a fair bit about women's health.
Yep.
More than probably most men.
Yeah.
Probably more than a lot of women too, actually.
It's true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And we just want to educate women on this subject, and men too. Like men, if you're listening, like
you need this.
Yeah. It would, especially if you have daughters, like when they begin their cycle, like it's such a great time to just educate them. And if it's uncomfortable for you, bring them to somebody who is comfortable speaking about it, and
like
making
Taylor.
sure that they're getting the right products and understanding what each product does. There's so many products out there in the world. Maybe we'll do a podcast on literally just all the products, pros and cons of period products.
Oh gosh, yeah, that'd be a good one. There's so many products and alternatives and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even if you want to improve on your systems that you've already got and the knowledge that you've got, Taylor's still a great resource, because like any industry, you can know stuff, but that doesn't mean you can't improve, right? That doesn't mean you can't get better at it and make wiser choices. And Taylor's an excellent resource for all of this. What do you want to add much else to your story, or I can speak on more from a male perspective?
Yeah, let's just hear it from your perspective right now.
Right now, okay.
Right now, let's hear it.
What?
Just your perspective of...
Maybe for men who have a woman in their life.
Yeah, who might be like feeling like they're annoyed maybe they're frustrated. Maybe they just don't understand like what the cycle is. And
yeah, for men, I think I'll maybe just shoot a couple of tips out for men who have a woman in their life with a menstrual cycle. So from my perspective, growing up with Taylor and her crazy episodes, I think it was actually crucial to me learning about it so that I know how to care for you better. And that even goes for like, you see funny stories of like sending men to go get the products and they come back with everything. Well, if you just know what to get, what's a good product, like we'll talk about later in another episode, then you're more equipped to help the woman in your life, your daughter or your wife or girlfriend. And also, it gives you a level of empathy that you would not have if you didn't know about the cycle. Because when you understand the different phases of each cycle, which again we'll talk about in another episode, and you understand how each phase works to some degree, we'll never be a woman, we'll never fully understand, kind of like having a baby. That's never going to be fully understood by us, but we can do our best to understand it. So that gives you an idea of what kinds of foods you might cook. It'll give you an idea of how your partner, daughter, whatever, is going to feel almost week to week. For example, the week before menses, the luteal phase, right? Yeah. The luteal phase, you might be like, okay, yeah, so this is a good week to maybe eat some red meats or squashes or something. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. See, I'm not a pro, but I do know a little bit. But see, this gives you an idea of like, what can you cook? And it gives you an idea of how she's going to feel, so you're not gonna give her crap for like feeling tired and like she wants to rest or go inwards.
Be less social.
So you're not building up resentment towards these people in your life. You understand what they're going through and you can have empathy for it, and then you can care for it. And this is going to set your relationship up for more success because you understand your person better.
I love that. Would you say in the early days of our relationship that it was hard? Not knowing that?
Oh, yeah, it was hard. Well, especially because your episodes were so gnarly. I'm like, dude, I just don't know what to do. You feel almost like helpless. Except for me, I watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, so I was in good standing. So all you men out there need to go watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Get some orange juice.
No, there's also some books out there, some courses. There's various resources aside from this podcast that you can go do. That's like, it's not going to take you much effort or time. And if you want a good relationship with these women in your life, then you'll make the effort to do these things.
And as the wife and girlfriend of all these years, I appreciate like every bit of effort that he has ever done to like take care of me, and especially when I would have those horrendous episodes. But even now, when I'm even just on a healthier, I'm just so much more healthy, and my cycles are so much better. I mean, this year has been a little strange with my cycles. Like, we counted it. I've only had like 8 cycles just because I had been pregnant for a lot of this year. But I feel like just our story and our background and experiencing all of this, he had just learned to take care of me in a way that he knew best, and that was a lot of it was like through food. Like, how do I help? How do I help her? Like, she's like tired, and he wanted to set me up for success. And sometimes, like, being a woman, like, and you're tired in your luteal phase, like, you don't want to cook, and so when you have somebody in your life that is actively trying their best to take care of you, it really, like, matters a lot, especially, like, to me, just in our relationship. And I am so appreciative of that. He cooks me a lot of meals, a lot of good ones too. Some of them are a little weird, but
God, we all knew that was coming. Most of it's good, but
there's been some times he's cooked me some stuff that I was just like,
you can't win them all.
I've denied it, to be honest. I've denied food. I would say I'm not super picky, but if I don't like the flavor of something, I can't force myself to eat it. Like,
all I
just
say
can't.
Is I'm not Gordon Ramsay. But I'll do my best. And sometimes my best includes experimenting. Because otherwise I'm not going to progress anything. Yeah. It's not going to just cook fucking spaghetti all the time.
So anyways, it's just really nice finding somebody in your life that can help,
Yeah, and one point I wanted to make, if there are men still listening to this episode and you're like, bro, like, that's not my lane. Women's health is not my lane. If you have a woman in your life, you're in the lane.
You're sorry in that lane.
Actually, I'm happy to tell you, not sorry to tell you.
Just as a side note, just knowing and understanding the cycle and preventing pregnancy or just trying to get pregnant has been really great too. And if you're friends or family that is like, okay, I don't want to know too much, into our personal lives, but we've been able to successfully prevent pregnancy for years without condoms and birth control.
14?
Yeah. I mean...
14 years?
Well, not...
13 years?
I would say more like
Oh, because you were on birth control, technically.
Yeah, so there were years, that we were, like, using, birth control and condoms and things like that, but you don't have to use those if you don't want to, is what I'm saying. So just knowing the cycle, you can know when to prevent, pregnancy, because it's a very short window. And if you're trying to get pregnant, you know exactly what that window is.
Yeah, that's super helpful too.
Yeah.
Which again, we'll probably, when we start talking about the cycle, the phases, how you can eat and live and do things with each cycle will be its own episode.
Yeah.
But for now, where can these women go to figure this stuff out?
So there's a few resources out there. Dr. Jolene Brighton is really great. I love reading her books. She's got a couple books out there. And I actually have a weekly group, a weekly women's group coaching that will be beginning on December 3rd. So
2024.
Yeah, 2024. And I'm super excited to be offering that because it's a weekly coaching. It's for 1 hour out of the evening on Tuesdays. And it's a place where we as women can gather, we can ask our questions, we can tell our stories, we can make suggestions. If there's a woman in there who's like, hey, I had that, this is what helped me. Like, women have always been of great support of each other, or should be. Like, historically, like, that's what women would do. We would gather around, we would support each other, we would support each other's babies, we would support each other in the healing of postpartum. Like, historically, that's like what women would do. And so I want to be able to create a space that we can be of support, ask questions like, hey, I really don't know that. And it's weekly. Like I said, every Tuesday, starts December 3rd. And right now I have a special deal going on for lifetime access. If you join before December 31st, it is $150 a month. And it's just a month-to-month commitment. So there's no like long-term contracts or anything. So if you want to join just for a month, join for a month. If you want to join for, ongoing support, like if you are someone who is actively trying to get a grip of your menstrual health, stay on for, 3 months, minimum 3 months. In my one-on-one coaching, I work with women for a minimum of 3 months. I won't go any less. And ideally, it will take a year for things to really change. And so $150 for group coaching, lifetime access. If you stay with me for a year, you could see some really big changes within that year. And one of the guests that I would love to have on our podcast is one of my past clients, and her story is incredible. And she had joined one of my 8-week group coaching calls, online calls that we would do. And she said it was just absolutely phenomenal. So if you want that, I can put the link in the description as well in the show notes.
Yeah.
And you can register. Like I said, it's $150 lifetime access to these weekly calls. And
that's literally only like $37 a week.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And what you'll get with that is our journal, our tracking journal. It's 30 days of tracking that will come as a gift to you. And you'll also receive a handmade bracelet that I will send you as well. So if you want to join, I would be more than happy to get you all set up and registered for our weekly calls.
Yeah, so find that link in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I think that pretty much wraps up the episode. So thank you all for listening to episode 4 of Ekhoing Vitality with myself, Josh,
and Taylor.
Have a great day or night, wherever you're doing.
Wherever you're doing.
Wherever you're doing.
Have a good night, good day.
Farewell,
my friend.
Until we meet again. That's an old show.
Yeah, it's a song too, I think.
Okay,
all
peace
right.
out.
Bye.